All right, great, great. Just a moment. Blessing, you're the host for the program, right? Hello, Blessing, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, just confirming that you will be available to help me look into the chat box.
Okay, definitely.
All right. So, great. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to you on the topic pivoting your career, which was actually what was advertised. The other part of the phrase is my own inclusion based on the speaker guidelines that I received, and I'll explain that shortly. Thanks again, like I said, for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today. I love I see it as an opportunity, like I said, and it's something that I love to do every now and then. I think this is the second opportunity I've had with Joshua Leadership to speak to your team on a program like this. But I guess this is especially unique because it's the first digital conference you have. Am I correct, Blessing?
Yes.
Okay, great, great. All right. So I guess like the flyer said, my name is Dangun. I'm a senior HR business partner at working with one of the global banks. I started out my career actually in core banking. I did a bit of treasury, and then I did a bit of sales, and then I transitioned completely from banking into the space of training consulting, where I worked in the business development space, marketing trainings to other financial institutions, banks, stockbroking firms. From that role, I moved on to be the head of HR as well as the head of business support for that particular organization. Roughly about 10 years ago, I left that organization to join my current organization, first as the consumer banking training academy manager. I did that role for about 6 years. During that period, I grew coverage from covering just the Nigeria angle of the business to other West African markets where I delivered trainings, and once in a while also had opportunities to deliver training outside of Africa. Since then, I've also done a short stint, a role in sustainability. Established the regulatory requirements of sustainability within the banking system for my organization. And in the last 2 years, it will be 2 years actually in August 2018, I've been in this role, which I will call my dream role, at least for now. It's been an exciting journey, and probably as we go on, we'll talk more about the steps that I have taken in my career and whether there are things that you would find useful to yourself as well. So we've said pivoting your career in a VUCA world. Just to explain, VUCA is not a real word, it's an acronym. VUCA means volatile, uncertain, complexity, and ambiguity. So volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So that's what the VUCA word stands for. And as we go through the slides, we'll talk about what VUCA really means and how we respond, the best response for us to give to such an environment. There's some talking at the background. May I request that if you're speaking outside of this meeting, you just put your or if there's background noise, just put it on mute. I hope that it will be a very interactive class, and since it's small, I will probably be calling on you to please join me. I will try not to put you on the spot, but remember, I said I spent almost 10 years in training, so you should expect that your names will be called every now and then. So bear with me. I'm apologizing in advance. So let's get started, right? I put a bit of an outline there. We're starting off, what's the future of work, general introduction, what the future of work is about, what the COVID-19 has done to that whole future of work mindset, and then how do we thrive in a VUCA world. future-ready mindsets and skills. And then, of course, we will leave ample room for questions and answers. I hope to be done with this within the next 30, 40 minutes at the most, and then we can have a lot of time for interactions. However, while I speak, I will request every now and then that you go to the chat box and respond to some questions. And since we are few, I may actually call on us to take off the mute, come off mute, and then share openly with the rest of the team. I almost said congregation. All right then. So let's move. Right. So where are we? Our iceberg is melting. And I asked, my first question to you is, what's been your most profound realization or aha moment in the last 4 months? What's been your most profound realization or aha moment in the last 5 months, in the last 4 months? And I would like you to go into the chat box now. I'm going right there to see what you put in, and just tell us, whether it's in one word or in one sentence, what's been your most profound aha moment or realization about everything that has happened in the last 4 months. All right, I'm waiting to see your comments. Or would you prefer to speak? Okay, I hear some typing. So something's coming up. Can I invite somebody to speak if you'd prefer to speak? Okay. We have a comment from Chijoke Njoku. I realize that the world is a global market and we are all connected. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. We're all connected, so much so now that, you know, in March, speaking of your comment, in March, I was in a meeting and we're thinking, oh, how could the COVID, you know, by then early March, COVID had become a topical issue in the world. And we're thinking, how could it impact us? And all we could think of was, just leave the guys in China, don't let them come here. So, and we never thought how connected we really are. So I remember meeting with the same set of people a few months ago, and I said, wow, how simplistic we viewed this issue. We never imagined all that has happened in the last 4 months, considering the perspective we had early in March. And we have a comment from Blessing. Blessing said, I realize that our jobs don't require our physical presence, right? Remote working is real. Is more real than ever. Thanks a lot, Blessing. And you know what that makes me think? I feel like we need to be paid for every hour we spent in traffic. Personally, for me, working in Lagos for the last 17 years or so, I feel like the city owes me, because all those hours could have been spent working from home, right? Or doing something a lot more productive. So really, the world has changed significantly. The world, we continue to experience huge changes within our society. The last time I checked, the number of infection was at about over 13 million, if I'm not mistaken, and deaths at over 300 and something thousand. I try not to check often, so don't be surprised if that data is dated. But it's just shown us that something can ground the whole world. I remember for me, one of the most profound moments was when all the airlines started announcing they were grounding their planes. And I thought in my whole life, which I think is reasonably long enough, I have never witnessed something like this. And most people, not just in our generation, even 20 years beyond my generation, I mean, there's your generation, my generation, 20 years beyond, have never seen something on the scale like we have seen with the COVID-19 impact. So it does feel like, I mean, and of course you guys know how all the conspiracy theories were coming out, the world is ending, this is a conspiracy, if it is not a conspiracy, they are trying to wipe out the population, and all sorts of theories that came up and fears. And I think, I mean, we're Christians, so we'll talk about it. The devil took advantage of building the fear in the hearts of people, and people became paranoid, and some people probably had blood pressure escalating and lost their peace just because they thought, you know, this was all that was happening. But we've seen, and over the months, we have begun to see things settle down into a new pace, and we're beginning to say to ourselves, hey, this is the new direction. how do we ensure that we remain relevant in that new direction? So I have a few more comments. David Olapo says the fact that it takes one visionary to turn an entire place around, multiply that by 10, right? Great. And then Njoko says again, there is a high demand and dependency on technology. You can say that again. That's the only tool by which you and I are able to meet right now.
Exactly. Exactly.
Great. So we're now talking the future of work. The conversation about the future of work has been ongoing for, I think it's about maybe 3 or 4 years now, as in its intensity. I'm sure there have been conversations before then, but intensity picked up sometime in 2017. Most of the top consulting firms have published reports and done a lot of research around the future of work. PricewaterhouseCoopers, McKinsey, KPMG, the Big Fours, and even a lot of other organizations that you and I may not interact with very often. The future of work is a hot topic. It's been a hot topic in the global world for a long time, and for me in the HR space, it keeps presenting itself. And what do we see that are the trends we have seen in the world that we say will drive the future of work, the conversation around the future of work? One is the new behaviors we see with people. People are a lot more open. And I'll give you an example. When I joined my organization, it was almost a taboo to put anything related to work on social media. So I had to tell everybody that I know, if I'm taking a photo, I make sure there's no logo around me. There is nothing that shows the place that I work. And it wasn't about security. It was about abiding by the rules of my organization. But guess what? Today, my organization encourages me to put their profile out there. Encourages me to talk about what we're doing in the organization and promote it on all of the platforms that used to be taboos in the past. So these we see shaping the world of work. The second thing, and probably the biggest thing, as you will see on my notes on the right-hand side, is technology. Technology in all its shapes and forms. The whole digital transformation, the artificial intelligence, the machine learning, the automation. In fact, as I was working on the slides, I discovered that each time I try to put a design, the new Microsoft PowerPoint will suggest about 10 other patterns right there for me to choose from. So the system plays around with whatever I put in and gives me options. Before, you had to rack your brain yourself. You had to look for ways to place your slides. You had to look for ways to put it in a manner that would work out well. The systems are picking up the intelligences that we did not know would exist before. I don't know how many of us use Netflix, and you can just respond on the chat window. If you use Netflix or even Instagram, have you noticed that the moment you start clicking on a particular Instagram link, say you're trying to buy earphones, and you start clicking on earphones, you begin to suddenly see more earphone posts. Have you noticed that? That is the intelligence that the system builds, knowing that this is what you look for. It begins to push that kind of information to you. And it's all about how big data is used. The global companies of today, Amazon, the dream that Amazon has is to, somebody was telling me about it, they're working on how they can supply your toothpaste just at the point you are pressing the last toothpaste. Your doorbell rings and your next pack is with you. Meaning that they have studied your usage so much, they can tell how long you use, it will last, and they ship it before it finishes. So it is getting to you just at the nick of time. So there's a lot, and I mean, that's a whole topic on its own. The whole conversation around technology and its impact, is a whole conversation on its own. Then we have the millennials, the millennial workforce. Millennials, there's a whole conversation around what age starts from millennials. Some people say from the 80s all the way up to the, I think, mid-90s. The conversation keeps going back and forth. My friends who are born in the 80s say, no, I'm not a millennial. I don't think I qualify. Some of us have the image that a millennial is somebody who is a top flyer at a young age. It's actually an age period. Please put your lines on mute so that we can hear each other. Thank you. So the millennials, or Blessing, maybe you can help us put the lines on mute then. The millennials workforce isn't. Okay, I've unmuted myself. Thanks, Blessing. So the millennial workforce they have a new way of thinking, a new way of working. In the past, we used to have people who would join a company and would want to stay for their lifetime. The millennial is saying, why would I want to stay with one organization for the whole of my life when I can experience so many new things? No, I think if I've spent a year, it's time to move on to do something else. Why do I have to get to work at 8 a.m.? When I can get there and I feel more productive between 10 p.m. and the morning. So why can't I work the night shift? And you are saying, but you're not a security guard, you're not a nurse, you're not a doctor. Why are you asking for night shift? That's when I think I can do my best work. They're demanding, they are forcing the organizations to consider their style and change the future of work. Then of course we have the conversation around remote working, like Blessing pointed out. Mobility. I can work anywhere. The lockdown happened, the government lockdown happened on the 31st. In my organization, a lot of us went home from like middle of March. Tell you what, there are people from that March, they have never stepped into our office and they are working every day productively. So there are people who are no longer in the country where they are working. They are working and serving their original country, but they're in another location. So mobility has made it possible to be a staff of an organization in India and be sitting here in Nigeria, delivering for your stakeholders and ensuring that all your timelines are met. And then of course, globalization says there are no boundaries. There are absolutely no boundaries. The world is one world. And like I said, let's come back to technology. So the conversation has always been that we are in the fourth revolution. Artificial intelligence is going to take over the world. The robots are taking over our jobs, and human beings are thinking there's not going to be enough job for human beings. What's going to happen? We will talk about all of that. But guess what? We thought that this future of work will be triggered by technology. And don't get me wrong, technology has been very important. But guess what triggered it eventually? What triggered the future of work? Any takers? I'm checking the chat box. What triggered it even faster than we thought? Yeah, thank you. Absolutely right. So as terrible as the COVID virus is, and I say this with all sense of sobriety. And I mean, you can't think that over close to 500,000 people have died and not be sober. For us here in Nigeria, surely we have friends, we have family members who have died. And if we haven't seen people who have died, we've seen people who have suffered excruciating pain as a result of the illness. We've seen people whose source of livelihoods have disappeared because of this virus. But we know that this virus has brought that future that we've been talking about. The virus has brought it to today. So the future is now. You know, when they say that, which is what's that literature term? It's an oxymoron, right? Future is supposed to be distant, and then we say now. The future is now. It's come here and it's right before us. So the way I've captured it on the next slide is to say the COVID-19 acceleration. What happened was COVID-19 accelerated, like just how when you press on the accelerator of your car, COVID-19 has accelerated the future of work. I'm right now struggling to get to the next slide, just declaring to you what is happening. And it seems to be difficult moving. Blessing, do you have my slides with you? You're on mute.
Yeah, I don't have a copy of the slide.
You don't have it? Okay. Let me just try again. Hopefully it moves this time. I think it's hanging. But I'll keep talking through. Fortunately, I have a copy here on my phone that we can talk about. So what has COVID-19 done? And I want you to, in your own space, type into the chat box, how has COVID-19, you know, we've talked about the future of work. How have you experienced COVID-19 impacting the way you have worked, or the way, maybe whether it's your work or not, the way you've seen the workplace change? You can just go to the chat box and type your response. Great, it's here. Any thoughts? I think we have mentioned one or two already. So we talked about how lots of organizations are working from home. People are delivering, keeping productive, despite the fact that they are not at this moment in their physical offices. What about people leaders? I remember somebody who says she used to be a micromanager. She would follow up her people. Now, what has she had to do? She has had to learn to trust them. That when work starts, they're actually at work, not lying on their beds or lying in their beds. She has to trust that they will deliver what they agreed on at the right time when the delivery date is due. But you know, sometimes we've experienced that happen in the world of commerce. We have seen most sales go online. There is almost nothing that you cannot buy online anymore. Virtually everything is available to you to purchase online. So we've seen changes. Digitization has been accelerated. People who were not on those platforms have quickly caught on. Organizations who could simply not work or who were resistant, some organizations had employees who were completely resistant. We have been forced to accept the change. You know, it's one thing to be told, oh, why don't you consider flexible working? And then you say, no, I don't think it's for me. I don't think it will work. But when you have no choice, as human beings, we are forced to adapt. And that's what has happened. We have found ourselves adapting. Oh, I will be distracted, but you have found a way to not be distracted or to manage that distraction and get your work done. Oh, I don't trust myself. Won't I put on the TV? When you think of your deliverables and the pay you have to earn, you have found a way to shut down that TV and get the work done. So we have also seen emerging value streams that did not exist before suddenly come up. And lots of businesses are beginning to pick up. And while people are shouting, things are bad, some businesses are thriving. You and I are here on the Zoom platform. Who knows how much Zoom has made in the last 4 months? I don't remember the figure, but I remember it blew my mind. It's more than they have made in all of their existence, and some more times more than that. Because collaborative networks, collaborative platforms are thriving in this season. So we all are able to connect. Here we are looking at ourselves in a space that we would normally not have had to. I was thinking to myself, the last time I was at a Joshua leadership program, it took me about a total of 5 hours at the end of the day, minus preparation time. Ministration was just maybe 2 hours max. But the time it took to get there and the time it took to get back home, total time was about 5 hours. But this is going to be smack 90 minutes tops. No extras on one side or the other, because I'm right here in my sitting room. So people who have this collaborative tool, sorry, I don't mean sitting room, I'm right here in my house. So people who have these collaborative tools are thriving and are putting it out there and making a killing from it. And we see other businesses, sorry, there's a typo there. It's supposed to be exiting businesses, not existing businesses. We see exiting businesses who have gone completely down. If you're in the travel industry, what's happening? If you're a travel agent, what's happening right now? Nobody's going anywhere. So what happens to the value chain? Completely nothing. Tickets are not being bought. Tourist locations are shut down. The whole Disney World, Dubai, all of the income that Dubai would have made in 4 years, all gone. Emirates grounded. What else? Even here in Nigeria, when you drive past Landmark Center, you drive past all of the hot event spots, Kudirat Abiola Way, that would always be flooded with traffic on Saturday and Sunday because one party or the other was going on, all shut down. Those are businesses that are really being threatened. We've seen that. And these businesses have now had to think, how else can we thrive? Where else can we add value? And I think we've already talked about the evolving leadership competencies. I will move a bit faster now so that we get into more of the meat. So where are we? We're talking about bringing it home now to you. What we have described is a VUCA world. A VUCA world, like I said in the beginning, is a world where there is volatility, where there is uncertainty, where there is complexity, and where there is ambiguity, significant ambiguity. Now, what is the effect when there is volatility? The risks are extremely high, because what does volatility say? Things are changing suddenly, changing without giving you much notice, and it's almost easy to just see that everything is unstable. You think it is this particular area that will thrive. You consider going into that space, or this particular organization will thrive, but nobody could have prepared the world that things will go this bad. Most people never thought about the kind of situation that we are in today. So on one side, while it looks bad, on the other side, there are some benefits. And I'm just looking at the chat box now. Great, somebody has helped us to put in the amount of profit that Zoom has made, 400% since the pandemic. All businesses need to be online. The web is now the new oil. Thank you. It has really opened our eyes to people's level of productivity, and that productivity is not tied to a place. Rather, it's tied to the person, depending on the person's level of commitment, willingness. We didn't go to work often, but we met up with the deadlines even faster than usual. COVID-19 has made work easier online compared to the physical phase. Yeah, internet usage has increased. So we expect that people who have shares in MTN and all the internet companies should be smiling, right? Sad as the situation may be. So if you look at the slide where we're talking about, what we've done is we've looked at the VUCA, we've looked at the effects, and we've looked at what the antidote will be. I will go to the antidotes because of time. Now, where there is volatility and everything is unstable, the best thing is to focus on the vision. What is the core? And I put that now, we're now coming into terms of you. I don't know what industries you may be in, but let's assume your industry is experiencing turbulence. Whichever organization you are in is experiencing one form of turbulence or the other. What is your vision? Can you paint a picture of the future that you have dreamed of? Can you still see that vision? Because it's a destination. So let's look at it this way. If I was going to, I want to go to Ibadan. There are many routes to Ibadan. If I had a personal car, I could get into my car and start driving. I could get on the road and discover that there is traffic on the routes that I want to take. And then I decide, oh, let me go back and take another route completely. I still know that my destination is Ibadan. I'm not going to get to Ikeja where the traffic is and then just park and say, I don't know what Bega will look like. I don't know what the other areas will look like. And so because of that, I will not move further again. I keep the destination in focus. So my question to you is, what is your career aspiration? For you to be able to pivot your career in an environment like this, you have to first of all be clear where you are headed. You have to be clear about the destination and what it is you want to achieve. How do we then deal with the second one, which is the uncertainty? The thing about uncertainty is, do I go left or do I go right? You don't even know. So, and the danger here is that it ends up in what we call direction paralysis or analysis paralysis. There's so much that could go wrong, so much information, you end up not doing anything at all. So these are part of the challenges that could come in. And again, I see another typo there. I'll correct it as we go along. How do you deal with uncertainty? You understand, try to understand better, explore the different perspectives. So it's uncertain. Most times uncertainty comes because there is lack of knowledge. How can you apply critical thinking to see from the angle of, from another angle? So you are looking at it as there is no future in this particular industry. Is it really that there is no future in the industry, or there is no future in the way the industry is structured today? Is that an assumption? Is there a fact to support what you are saying? Is there a fact to support what you're thinking? Critical thinking would help you understand better. And then the next one is complexity. Complexity produces unproductiveness. So the direction analysis and the paralysis analysis, a duplication there. How do you deal with complexity? Is to clarify. Clarity, bring clarity into the, simplify the issues. So let's give an example. You are in a space where people are losing their jobs, and perhaps salaries have been slashed by half. and then it looks like with the salaries being slashed by half, the kind of work you're doing has changed, or the tools are not available. You even work with an organization where they don't have the digital platforms and you're still forced to come into work. How do you manage all of this? That is now the concern that you have. How do you manage all of this? Simplify it. What's the next best thing you can do? What's the next action that you can take? Maybe you need to learn something new. Maybe you need to do up your CV again. Maybe you need to explore your network. Maybe just pick one action that you can take so that you are not unproductive with the time and the opportunities that you have. You know, lots of people are saying, oh, things are bad, things are bad. And, you know, we keep joking as Christians. We say, one day you will just wake up, things are bad. The people that you thought are with you in the so-called things are bad, they are advancing. And you know why they will be advancing? Because they just simplified it and took one tiny step at a time. One tiny step at a time. It may be difficult to move in leaps, but you surely can take a step at a time. And then lastly, for the ambiguity, it's all about agility. Agility is about how nimble are you? How flexible are you? How quick are you to change and learn when difficulties come to you? So that's pretty much the tools that we call it the VUCA antidote. For you to pivot your career in a time like this, you need to know first that you are in a VUCA environment, and you need to have the skill to manage the complexities, the volatility, the uncertainty, and the ambiguity. Now, my question to you is, are you future ready? So I want you to go into the chat box at this time. If I ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, looking at yourself, the way the world is changing, the kind of skills that are required in the future. You may not have the total picture now, but what is your sense of your level of readiness on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the lowest level of readiness and 10 being the highest level of readiness? Where would you say you are? Your time starts now. Great, I see 7, fantastic. We have superstars here, and there's an 8, wonderful, 2 8s actually. Okay. Someone said 5, 7, 5. Great, thank you, thank you. Great feedback, great feedback. So that's, it's good to look at yourself and say, where are those skills? And what we've done is just a general view, right? I hope that after this session, what each person will do, and we'll talk about that later, is to do an assessment based on your own space. I didn't come with a specific action, because the next step for a doctor is different from the next step for a lawyer. It's different from the next step for an accountant. Even as in accounting, is different from if you are in tax, if you are in regulation, if you are in operations, if you are in reconciliation. It's all different. So you are the experts in your field, and you will need to do the assignment of reviewing what the future looks like within your own space and how you can prepare for it. And so the question I asked you, are you ready? Are you future ready? Because that future is actually now. Are you future ready? And in terms of readiness, we look at, I'm trying to move on to the next slide. In terms of readiness, we look at 2 areas. The first one is your mindset, and the second one is the skills that you have. Your mindset and your skills. And these are general, broad mindset and skills that can be applied in every profession. And this list is not exhaustive. So you feel free to add more as you explore. The idea of the session is just to get our minds thinking. Hopefully the slide will eventually move. It's hanging again, but I'll just go in to discuss the mindset. So mindsets, what are the mindsets? 1, resilience. What does it mean to be resilient? Resilient is called the bounce back ability of an individual. The fact that you can be down and rise up again. The fact that difficulties can come your way, but those difficulties are seen instead as enablers, and you're able to keep moving despite the obstacles that come your way. I was at a session sometime last week, and they were talking um, about resilience. And resilience is just that thing in you that keeps you going. You know, when you say some people just don't give up, no matter how difficult it is, move their cheese, they find something else. Melt the iceberg, they find some way to keep chilling the one that is still there, or they develop wings or something, and they turn into birds and they can fly, but they can just not be put under at any point in time. They always find a way to keep at it. They find a way to keep going. Great, the slide is here. The other one is agility, an agile mindset. An agile mindset is a mindset that is nimble. You're not stuck on anything. You find it easy to quickly move around, and it's similar to adaptability, but you find it easy to quickly move around. You can learn new things very quickly. You can change if you're required to change. If the knowledge required is different from what you already have, you can easily pick up the new knowledge. And then, of course, there's the growth mindset. You know, there's we talk about a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. A growth mindset is a mindset that believes that I am in a place where I'm on a journey. I'm not yet there. Nothing that happens to me is final. I can keep improving as I go along. I can keep getting better as I go along. And I'll tell you an interesting story. For those of us who are football lovers, I listened to someone talk about growth mindset, and the example they gave was David Beckham, and how, now forgive me because I'm not a football person, but because it was used as a growth mindset analogy, it really stuck with me, or example, it really stuck with me. One of the matches where Beckham really messed up, and he was the one who cost his team, and possibly, in fact, England, the cup for that particular tournament, or the club that particular tournament. And it was so bad, he became so unpopular that people burnt his statue where it had existed, or his pictures. It was like a who can hate David Beckham the most contest on who could pull him down. And a lot of people said Beckham is never going to recover from this. But Beckham went on after that to lead the team to win many more championships. And that's because he decided that moment is not going to define me. So if you're working in an organization where everything has come to a halt, things are completely down, your job is gone, not because you've done anything wrong, but because of COVID-19 or because of the changes of the future, guess what? Have a growth mindset. You'll be shocked the opportunities that it reveals. Yesterday, I was speaking to someone who said he was virtually demoted like 4 times down. If you think of the kind of job he was doing before, and a change came and affected him, he had to take a much smaller job. But that much smaller job was in a new country within West Africa. He got to that country at the age of 44, and he learned how to speak French. He's now over 50, but he says that experience was a very demoralizing in coach experience in his life. But he thinks of how, because he had a growth mindset that I'm still growing, I'm still learning, he used that time to pick up French. The skill he now has is opening doors for him. Because if they say, can you speak French? He says yes. The jobs he has, the access he has, the people he can relate with, he keeps getting opportunities as a result of that. So that's an example of what having a growth mindset can do positively, or 2 examples actually. And what are the skills? I struggled with the mindset and the skills because sometimes they can even be interchangeable. I think we've talked about critical thinking already. We've talked about digital mindsets, digital analytics, digital skills, digital analytics skills, data skills, your ability to look at what data is saying. Now, as I was thinking about this, I thought, but the artificial intelligence already does that. But somebody needs to program the artificial intelligence to do it, right? The artificial intelligence, that's why it is artificial. Obviously, the natural sits with somebody, and the natural sits with you and I. So how can we become people who are willing to learn new things and to build these skills? So within your space, which of these skills do you need to pick up now? And what would that skill drive you? As a HR, there's a relatively new field called people analytics now. And I'm saying to myself, if I want to be my overall career aspiration of being a global thought leader in human resources, I need to understand people analytics. Guys, I am the person who decided to write JAM and put law so that I don't do maths. I'm that person. I'm that person that just crammed and got, in my days it was C6, so that I can pass WAEC and not have to touch mathematics again. I'm that person who, when I got into business admin and discovered I had to do maths in 100 level, was terribly disappointed. Why is this mathematics still chasing me in my life? But last week, I got on the system and enrolled myself in a data academy. That is me trying to prepare myself for that future that is eminent. So, where are we? Back to our slide. So the question to ask yourself now is, where are you in terms of your skills? How future ready are you? I just thought to share this with you. There's a lot of conversation. I mean, we've all known how the world evolved from intelligence quotient, which is IQ, and then we moved to emotional intelligence quotient, which is actually EQ. Now there is a new term called adaptability quotient. Organizations are looking for people who are intelligent or people who are emotionally intelligent. They're looking for people who have a high adaptability quotient. What does it mean? It means that if today the organization is heading in this direction, these are our product lines, and a COVID-19 happens, or as people are now saying, a 2020 happens on them, and they have to change direction suddenly, who are the individuals that are adaptable and can still flow with the organization? Those are the kind of people organizations are looking for. Not people that will say, no, but this is how we used to do it before. Why are we changing it? If it's not broken, don't fix it. Not people that will still be meandering in that space until everything is lost. They want people who can quickly adapt, people who can quickly change. So what are a few practical tips? I'm now in the home run session with virtually just 1 minute left. So practical tips: self-assessment. I believe so much. Self-awareness is the most powerful tool for change. Who am I? How do I respond to change? What space am I in? Those are the questions to ask yourself. You can get a coach to work with you. How prepared am I? Am I the person who naturally resists change? You have to be aware of it, because you most likely will be a late adopter to the things that are happening around you. But when you know that I don't like change, you can then build a mitigant to that mindset. You can begin to work on it. But if you don't know, you'll be reacting thinking, I'm just being logical. No, I'm just being factual. You will have every name for it other than resisting change. Meanwhile, that is plain what it is. And you would lose a lot of opportunities as a result of that. So do a self-assessment, identify the gaps, build your learning agility. So learning is no longer something you do before you get a job. It's no longer that thing you do in your primary school, your secondary school, your university, when you want to get an MBA. And now work is learning. It's all meshed up together. What I've done personally is that I've blocked out time on my calendar to work. I'm struggling because work seems to be always eating up my learning time on my calendar. So I've decided 2 hours on Saturday, I will spend time reading up. So ask yourself, how best do I want to learn? Do I want to listen to a podcast? But by all means, make sure that you are building your learning agility. Stay nimble. Please don't define yourself by your job titles. Job titles are great. It's nice to say, I am the head of da 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 da. I am the managing director of something something. I am the CEO. I am the whatever. It's nice, but don't be defined by it. It doesn't define you. You may have to change at one point or the other. Stay nimble, stay open. Keep reskilling, keep upskilling yourself, keep building competencies that are required. And finally, I would say always see opportunities. Guys, for me, if you ask me what has been the singular thing that has helped me to benefit most in life, is seeing opportunities. Even when the situation seems negative, I ask, what good can come out of this? And we as Christians even have this more ingrained in us, right? The Bible tells us all things what work together for good for them that love God and are called according to his purpose. And that scripture is true, but it is more true for those who see opportunities and look for the hand of God in that supposedly difficult situation. It always turns out for good at the end of the day. So I think 40 minutes, or is it 45 minutes gone now? Blessing, are you tracking? I think it's 45 minutes. I will stop now so that we can have enough time for your questions, your comments, and your answers. So I guess we can leave comments, we can leave questions in the chat box. We can also come off the mic, maybe raise your hand and come off the mic so that we can ask our questions. Over to you.
Okay, so I think if you have any question, just drop it on the chat box. Then I will probably read it out for the guests to answer. So let's just drop our questions, comments, or whatever you have, feedback, whatever you have. Just drop your questions and to be answered.
Blessings, since we're not a lot, can we
And for
also use
those
the raise the
asking, yes, the
hand?
slides circulated to
Yeah.
everybody and to be made available on our YouTube and Facebook platform. So you don't have to worry about that. It's being recorded. Okay, let's keep the questions coming.
All comments. This is a topic that a lot of people have views on, so it'd be nice to learn from each other. So it doesn't have to be a question, it could be a comment to your view or how you experience and how your perspective on the topic.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, okay, we can hear you.
Absolutely.
All right. The challenge for me as a startup person, I want to start up something, an e-commerce business, but the challenge that I'm facing is getting in contact with investors. Usually, you know their offices, but when you don't know them on a personal level, you won't be able to communicate with them, and that's like a challenge now. Getting to see investors physically, you can't see them unless you know them, and it has been like a challenge in for those that really want to start up something.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair question, right? Because typically you can see people, but I'm thinking let's back up a bit.
Okay.
We would typically book an appointment before we even get a chance to go into a person's office, right?
Exactly.
So, but we wouldn't book the appointment physically. We would book it on other platforms like phone calls, emails, which are all digital.
Okay.
I've seen that there is an opportunity to get noticed if you have a digital presence. If you contribute to the body of knowledge, for instance, in a particular field, or you're able to put out what you are doing. I mean, not share your prototype or your entire business plan, but
Okay.
I'm not familiar with e-commerce, so forgive me, my examples may not be appropriate. But I'm thinking if you're thinking of doing something around e-commerce, how about posting thoughts about how that works, how that could work in an environment like Nigeria, and tag those people that you think can be potential investors if they are in that space. So you sort of like call for their attention. Remember, these are the tools that we did not have before, but we now want to begin to use. So you sort of like draw their attention to what you are sharing. Another thing, and these are networking tips that I'm now sharing with you. The other thing that you could also do is what's important to them. So if an investor is maybe not in that particular space, but has knowledge of, I'll use an example. So I know somebody who deals in maybe who does a lot of work around psychoanalysis, psychology, organizational psychology, and I come across an article that is useful to them, I send it to them and say, I saw this. I remember the last time I saw a post where you were asking about this. I think this could be useful, or this throws light on what you were talking about. I came across the article. I thought I should share with you. So you are building a relationship with them without necessarily going into their office, right? These are things that you can explore. I don't know that even if you go into the office, they want you to come at this time. So it might be best to, again, remember we said our minds are still in that space. So your mind is still in, I have to get to their office for them to be willing to invest. No, you don't.
Okay.
Don't.
Yeah, I'm trying to leave that space.
Exactly. So you don't. So maybe the thing now is to say, what else, how else can I get their attention?
Yes.
How else can I get their attention? Because what I really want is their attention. So,
Yes.
and you will answer that question possibly better than I, because you know what you're trying to tell them, and you know who they are and what will be important to them. So if I could summarize my response in one word, it would be one sentence to be, how can I get their attention without having to go into for a physical meeting? I don't know if that helps. I hope it does.
It helped. It helped. It helped. It just revealed something to me. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
All right, great. Thanks for the question.
No problem.
Okay, do you have
Any of
any other question? Does any other person has a question to ask?
no questions? So it's either you understood everything or you understood nothing. Which one is it?
Understood everything.
That's everything.
Everything. The pandemic might just be this also an oxymoron. It might just be the lifeline that we have been praying for. That's what I feel. The pandemic,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
might just be
And
the just we can talk.
yeah. Thanks, Chijoke. I completely agree with you. It's unfortunate that it's an unfortunate situation, right? But it
Yes.
has the potential to solve so many things. I was listening to a sustainability, somebody do the analysis on sustainability. For so many years, we've been talking about the impact of carbon emission on the climate. We've been talking about the impact of human activity on nature. And I used to be in the sustainability space a couple of years ago. And that
Wow.
conversation was just a conversation that never got the right attention. But with organizations facing COVID and saying stay at home and lockdown, it's like, people say the world is breathing again. With the
It's
airplanes
healing.
grounded, we have had less carbon emission.
Emission.
And
Yeah.
organizations like Twitter has said, work from home forever. You don't have to come back
Google
into the office. Google, same thing.
2021.
I think Facebook said till end of the year. Lots of organizations are saying, don't bother coming in. That means the cars on the road are fewer. So the potential it has to impact so many aspects of life, albeit negatively and positively, is real. The question for you and I is, how can we ensure that it becomes an enabler as opposed to an obstacle?
Exactly.
How do we ensure that for our careers, it doesn't stop us from achieving what we want to? And it's all about relevance. It's all about the relevance in the future space. So each one asks themselves. So I ask myself, I'm a HR business partner. What
Yes.
aspect of my work must be done by me? And over the years, I have seen parts of my work get taken away. Truly, most of what I do now is what can only be done by human. And even then, I have to think of what skills do I need to be faster at providing the business partnering opportunities, which is why I need the people analytics bit. Because I want to be able to say to a business leader, looking at all of the people in the organization, I see that in another 10 years, our demographics will be so and so, in which case we need this type of benefits to be able to retain the staff, because they will be
Yeah.
at this stage of their life where they are looking for how to settle down. If we don't give them this kind of benefits, they will most likely move to competition. But I need to have data to drive that. And I need to be able to understand that data. Hence, I need to go back and start doing Excel 101 that I have been running from my life. So thanks for bringing that point up. Do we have another question in the chat box? Okay, so we have a comment from Shinon. So I understand everything. Knowing COVID-19 has exposed us more to technologies. Working from home is the best for me. As a realtor, we need to be consistent on social platforms to grow our business. Thanks, Chinon So Eunice, for that comment. Somebody has gone off mute. Would you like to share a comment?
Yeah, I'm driving, so I can't type. My name is Emmanuel. There is this question that I would like to ask. The question is, I've noticed whenever there's a discussion on the future of work, everything is basically focused on digital.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and it gives me cause for worry in the sense that there are places possibly in Nigeria they don't even have access to light. How much more talking of technology? Now, my question is, does it mean those people are perpetually disadvantaged, or is there no place? Because I feel the narrative that the future is just tech. I don't seem to agree 100% with it. Why I see tech as an enabler? My question is, are there no options for those that may not have access either to digital tools or to opportunities to access? So, what are the other opportunities that those that may not be tech savvy may likely have? Thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing that up. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to hear other views on the platform. So I'm going to invite you to share your thoughts. I know some of us, I'm not sure if you joined Emmanuel from the beginning, the
No, I did
drivers
not.
for the
That's why I was taking time.
so
Yes,
we had talked
I couldn't join, but I joined at some point.
At some point, okay. So we had some conversation around what are the drivers of work, of the future of work. Tech seemed to be the biggest one, and everyone thought tech was the one going to catapult us into that future. But it turned out instead that it was the virus that ended up catapulting us into the future. So in which case, your question, and we'll still discuss more your question, but see, we thought it would be tech, but tech did not drive that. It was the virus. And when the virus, crystallized, tech became an enabler for people to cope. So the question I will ask to everyone is, in the absence, for instance, of technology, how could we have coped in this situation? That's one part of the question. And then what happens to the people? Then the other part is Emmanuel's question. What happens to the people who do not have the level of education that we have, or the exposure, or in fact, the data, plain and simple, or the data infrastructure?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Please come again with the question.
Okay, so I said, I had built a background, and I said that technology was not the reason why this particular future was accelerated. COVID-19 accelerated it, but we have all reading on the back of technology to get to the point that we are, right? Is there a way we would have been able to achieve even this conference for people who do not have the kind of technology exposure that we have? And is there any other thing that exists in the future of work other than a technology-driven stuff?
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm only talking my own, like, this is my own opinion, my own honest opinion. I think one of the greatest tools that man can have at this point now is the ability to adapt. Many people have refused change, and it has stunted their growth. So I don't think anybody that is still facing such challenge. I know not everybody's privileged to be among the elites. So, but I think the world, in a way, has gone further in terms of doing things analog style. So everything is just pushing towards digital. There's no going back. The years
Okay.
count forward, and
Okay.
I'm just saying, because answering this question right now, we have to go all political again, because we're in a third world country. This is Nigeria.
Hmm.
This is Nigeria. So I'm just
Thank
I'm just being very very honest.
practical. And you raise a very important point. So as organizations begin to think post-COVID, how are we going to work? Should we keep our staff at home? Some staff are saying, no, I cannot afford to keep running my gen to power for power supply, or the data is very erratic in my house. I need to come into the office so that I can do quality work uninterrupted. So there are even valid reasons why we say the technology infrastructure, apart from adaptability, the technology
Yes,
infrastructure may not be ready. So, but that still brings us, our question is still on the table. And I know that it may look like I'm putting some people on the spot, but I think, David, you've
I
been with us from the beginning. Or is there anybody coming off the mic?
Yeah, I
What
want
do
to
you
say
think?
something.
Please go
So,
ahead.
okay, personally, I think the world is moving forward. Like Chijoke said, it's just like saying, once upon a time, the civilization was at the point of using stones to light fire, for instance.
fire.
And at a
Exactly.
point, civilization changed, and we now have matches. Now we have lighter. So, assuming someone was of the opinion that, oh, I can't adapt to that, I don't have the maybe the
Yes.
facilities to use a matches, or I don't have what it takes, the money, the world will leave you behind. Like as difficult as it is, that is the sad truth. The world is moving to
Yes.
technology
Yes.
phase, and you have to either meet up or be left behind. It might be
That's
difficult
it.
for we, the third world country, to catch up because of the state of things. But one way or the other, I don't think at a point analog will completely phase out, whether we are
Yes.
ready or not. The worst that can happen is
Yes.
that the world will leave us behind. So I feel that everybody should be ready to adapt, find a way to make do, like, because the world is moving forward and they will not wait for
Okay.
us. Yeah.
Thank you, Blessing. Thanks a lot. I think very valid points there. The guys who used to drive, if you live in a city where there is Uber, you know that the guys who used to drive the yellow taxis no longer exist.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I know that they would have loved. They were kings. They were
Yeah.
kings in my neighborhood. They were kings. They would
Yes.
call any price, and you would beg and beg and beg. As long as it's taxi that you want to take, you have to pay. But Uber
Yes.
came and crashed the price to almost, 25% of what they would ask. There was nothing, not never like there was never anything like 500 naira drop before in Lagos at least. But with Uber, there's actually a distance you can go that you pay 500, 800. Those yellow cabs will
Yes.
never be that amount. And
Yes.
somehow today, if they don't go back to rebrand themselves, their business is lost,
That is
forever.
true. That is
Um,
true.
Like
the example
Okada
I can share
brand.
is, you know, that we have online banking, we have mobile banking, right? The mobile banking, the ones that can easily do USSD, was
USSD.
created for the people who may not be able to afford the digital phones, so that they can continue to transact. So even though they are not on internet, they are still able to leverage technology. And I want to believe that that kind of thinking may be useful in pulling them and bringing them up to speed. So we have solar panels being deployed. We have a lot of NGOs doing work around that. I know that there was a laptop that was designed such that it can run on solar power, and it was given to
Yes.
people in the village. I don't remember if it was a Nigerian village or one of the other African countries, but
It
so
won't
that
be
these children can
somebody
be
in Nigeria.
exposed to Google and see the knowledge that is at their fingertips. So
Yes.
it's to answer your question, Emmanuel, I think it'll be tough, um, but it would always be them being. They would always be. They can be part of a value chain, so they're not useless. And the
At
example
all.
that comes to mind for me is, look at farm crowding. Farm crowding is something that is getting a lot of presence on digital platform, but we need somebody in the farm to do the work.
Yeah.
The only question I have is that the best? opportunity for them? If they were knowledgeable about how much investors made, would it help them to price their service better so that they are not in subsistency, they are actually thriving and prospering? So, I mean, I guess I've asked more questions than answered your question, Emmanuel. I don't know if anybody can do a better job. I was trying to call David or now Lakpo. David, are you willing to share something? Any thoughts around this?
Oh, hello. Thank you. So it's just my thought on this is that wherever there is a need, the need kind of drives the solution, really. So if, say, for instance, the example you gave, where people are wondering, okay, data connection is bad, there's no power supply and all of that. Now, if there is that need, if the work moves to home space, so to say, somehow someone will come up with a better alternative, that they will have to subscribe to, which really is going to further. So it's like things are moving forward. They'll have to drive those behind to move along. If this is what the virus is doing, such that the work has to move to the home space, then every other variable, so to say, would fall in place over time. Then for the peoples, in quote, less privileged, well, there will always be that distinction: urban areas, rural areas. So what I think can happen is that, well, it will still translate to them, but it's going to probably be much slower than it is. There are places where they still don't have electricity and they still have to use the lamps and all of that, even in this day and age. So it may still happen. Yes, they may not have access to all the digital stuff and all of that. Yes, but life will still go on for them. They may move, just that probably as at the time where, say, we're using artificial intelligence in the urban environment, they may just be getting the hang of smartphones.
Okay.
Understand? But yeah, there's
Thanks
always
a
going
lot.
to be that
Thanks a lot,
distinction.
David. I really love the angle you bring in where you said the need will drive the solution. Absolutely. And therein lies the opportunity. So who is thinking about how where the opportunities exist? If data services are crap now, who has thought about a technology that will make the price of data crash by half and bring it into the market and make a killing, right? And employ the rest of us to work for them. So who is thinking about how to deploy a simple thinking kind of technology tool to these other people, or thinking about, like Emmanuel probed our minds, how can we get them involved in the future? Where do they come in that future? Who is going to do some work around that and explore that piece? So I guess it now ties into our conversation on the need for us to see opportunities and see how we can be part of that solution. I think we are out of time. Are we, Blessing? Do we still have time?
We're winding up. We are really
We
out
should
of
be.
time.
We should be rounding up. All right, great. So my last and Emmanuel, thanks again for that question. Really, really thoughtful. My last comment to us is a quote from Charles Darwin. And Charles Darwin in the Christian community is not very popular, but when he speaks the truth, we need to acknowledge it. So this quote is one of my favorite quotes on change. It says, "It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change." So guys, in summary, you can only pivot your career in this environment if you build that adaptability quotient, because that will drive the learning, that will drive the resilience. It's like just the tool that will push every other thing. I don't have a magic wand to give to you. Open up your mind, and those are the things that will accelerate your career to where you want it to be. So thank you all for listening. I really do appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. God
Thanks
bless you.
to the team. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we've come to the end of the class. So on behalf of Joshua Leadership Project, on behalf of we that listen to you, want to say a big thank you for having this insightful moments with you. We've learned a lot of things. I personally have taken home a lot of things that I know will change my life for good, and I believe that my fellow participants too have learned a lot of things. So my thank you so much. We hope that by this time next year, during the next leadership project conference, we'll also have you for another wonderful session. So thank you. And for those
That would be my honor.
yes, we'd love to have you back, ma. So the video was recorded and it will be posted on our YouTube channels and on our Facebook platform. So you can always have access to this session to remind
Yeah.
yourself of the things and all that. So thank you so much, ma. We appreciate
All
having
right.
you.
Thank you very much. Oh, we have a comment from Samuel of Port
Okay.
Harcourt. Sorry, I didn't see that. Thanks for your comment.
Please, I would like to stay connected. You have can we have your social media handle or
Yes,
something?
yes. Social media is another skill that I am learning. I actually put myself under pressure and invested in a social media toolkit, which one of my friends who's an entrepreneur developed, and that's part of
Wow.
my own way of learning too. So she has a toolkit if you want to do the various social media platforms. So I'm confessing, straight up. But my email address is available to the team. Please feel free to share the email address. But my social
Okay.
media handle on Instagram is my name, One Dagun. I think Facebook is the same thing, One Dagun. But if you want to get my attention, um, just drop
It's
me a
email.
phone. Just no, no, no. Just send me a text, WhatsApp or text message, and you can share my number to Lesson. That's fine.
All right. Lesson, we're
All right
waiting.
then. Okay. Thanks
Could you,
everyone.
okay, ma, could you private chat me your number? Yes, ma'am.
I okay. You don't have it. I'll do that. I will just put it on the chat for everyone.
Okay.
Um, okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye. Have a
Bye.
great weekend.
You too. Bye. Oh, that was insightful. Is
Yes,
there another
sir.
person coming on?
No, so I think we've come to the end of the session, and that'll be it. In as much as she shared her number with us, let's be very respectful and
Yes.
cordial about it. Don't go about messaging her or sending unnecessary calls and all that. You send a text message first before you reach out to her or something. Let's be good
Okay.
about it. So,
All right.
in absence of any other thing to say, or does anybody have any comment, any observation,
Yes, please. Can you
any
check the
comment?
chat box? Check the chat box. Someone wrote something there.
I think you have to subscribe to other sessions. I would like to watch that digitization class. Can we have videos? Can we have videos of other classes? No blessing. Ah, Bonnie is winning.